Good morning, everyone. This is Michele Hughes from Ageless and Timeless. Well, I've been saying in many of my podcasts lately how customized healthcare is becoming and managing our health span and lifespan. So today I have a wonderful guest named Kim Ressler, and she and I have known each other for a little bit. We met at one of the typical longevity shows, and I got very much enamored with their products. So we're going to tell you all about that today, but welcome, Kim.
Hi, Michele. It's so great to see you.
Yeah, we see each other a lot now. Kim is like omnipresent. She's always being asked to give speeches and so forth. But Kim, why don't you tell us, before we get into the company and the customized healthcare that we're going to talk about today, just tell us a little bit about what SNiP Nutrigenomics is and how you became the founder and the creator and the CEO.
Ooh, that's a lot of questions in one.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I think the thing is, I struggled with my own health, just like so many people are right now for literally 11 years. I was looking for answers, and you name it, Western, Eastern. I tried naturopaths, etc. I tried so many things, and I wasn't finding the stay power in my own health. And when I first started to learn about nutrigenomics, which nutrigenomics isn't new, it's just ever evolving. But it was always that thing for the rich and famous, the elite, because it was very expensive and very hard to ultimately get to where you needed to go. Genetics is complicated, confusing, etc. Anyway, when I understood that my own genetics literally tell me, because we aren't what we eat, we're what we absorb and utilize. But when I understood that, and when I applied a nutrigenomic approach after 11 years of struggling, it was like literally flipping light switches back on in my body. My energy, my sleep, my digestion, my skin, my joint mobility. I could go on and on and on. I mean, it was such a drastic change. So I became very passionate about nutrigenomics and educating people about their own genetics to use it's not the scary thing. It's literally, it's use your own genetics for your own superpower, right? You understand those strengths and weaknesses, and we can do something about so many things. Because if you think about it, when we're born, if you buy a $20 blender, you get an owner's manual, right? When you were born, you didn't get an owner's manual. And ultimately, Michele, you and I, or you and a man, or me and a man, we're 99% alike. The little bit that makes us different is really impactful of how we age. Yes, lifestyle is important, but those genetic predispositions literally tell us what you need, why you need it, and the format and the dose, etc. So I've really made it a mission to educate. I don't think we should be taking 20, 30, 40 supplements. I think we should understand our own biology first and start there. Save time, money, energy, effort, confusion, frustration, etc. So I've become very passionate about this, and it is, yes, my mission is to educate people that we should be starting with your biology, understanding the what and why. So that's a little bit about me and why. But yeah, SNiP's been around for 4 years, and we're in the United States and Canada. We are slowly expanding out, but our key cornerstone is continue to educate so that people, I think the thing, Michele, is when I was struggling, I didn't know the questions to ask. And now seeing my genetics, I know better the questions to ask, even about different things. I know the things to track, etc. So it's almost like this amazing self-awareness, and just knowing, being in my body, I feel really good.
It's interesting that you, and by the way, that's a very elegant way to describe your journey and also the company and what its purpose and mission is. So I really appreciate that. Why don't you just back up for a second and define nutrigenomics for people?
Okay. So each of us have our own genetics, right? That's your blueprint, what you were born with. You've inherited it from your mom and dad. So that's genetics. And then nutrigenomics is the study of your genetics based on nutrition. And nutrigenomics goes after what we call actionable genes. So genes that we can influence with plant-based nutrition, vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients. So let's just explain the difference between actionable and non-actionable. Like, Michele, what are you, 5'7", 5'8"?
5'6", but I wouldn't mind being 5'7" or 8", but no, thank you for making me taller.
Yeah, we always want to be taller, right?
Right.
I can't take and work with your genetics that you're 5'7" and make you 6'2", right? That's non-actionable. The same with your eye color. You've got beautiful brown eyes or blue eyes or green eyes. But we have markers or genetic markers that impact heart health, our body's ability to detox, our inflammatory response, our immune resilience, mood, cognitive function, oxidative stress. There's many genes that are called actionable, which yields out the nutrigenomic aspect of understanding your genes, what you need. And a lot of it's plant-based nutrition. I mean, it's really crazy, but it tells us the science is there. It's been there for a long time, and it just keeps evolving and getting bigger and more beautiful to see this. We just make all of this really simple because ultimately, in the past, somebody would go, and that's how I first learned about genetics. I watched a girlfriend spend $10,000 in 9 months mapping her genes, addressing a key area for her son. She refused to put him on medication. They understood through his genes, too, that he wasn't, he was that individual, because our genetics tell us about this, too, whether or not gluten might cause a problem. And I was like, aha, wow. But the masses can't afford to do that genetic mapping and then suddenly be on 30, 40. I mean, that's called pill fatigue and overwhelm, right? So
Right.
That's where SNiP is coming in to really simplify, hone in, and make it accessible. I'm very passionate about making this accessible to the masses to take control of their own health.
You know what I was going to ask you, when you talk about epigenetics and nutrigenomics, what would be the differential?
Well, so nutrigenomics is that nutrition component, right?
Okay, that's why it has the Nutra. Okay.
It's that's the nutrition component. I mean, epigenetics, our lifestyle, what we still need to eat clean. We need good, fresh water. We need clean water. We need fresh air. We need to move our bodies. I'm just one spoke in the wheel, but I'm here to make it simple because, I mean, I was just even reading an article that Kim Kardashian was saying she's taking over 35 supplements. And
I saw that same article, yes.
Yeah,
right.
Supplement fatigue. I agree. We don't, believe it or not, too, the body understands microdosing, and that's what we do. But we don't need to be taking 35 different supplements. That is honestly maddening, crazy, and I understand that supplement fatigue. So, yeah.
And not only that, but we don't know if those supplements are being absorbed properly, so that's another aspect. I always tell people, being that I'm a real estate developer by my background, and I use the metaphor of building a house. You're testing for your genetics and getting that blueprint before you start anything. It's like putting the foundation. You would never be able to build a house if you didn't have a foundation. So it's something that I relate to in terms of an analogy, but it really does make sense that you should never really start a health program until you know what your blueprint is.
Yep.
And I tell everybody, invest in the genetics test. I know I push a lot of business your way. I hope they come to you. But, between you and the DNA company, those are my two, favorites. But it's not because I'm trying to push your companies or products. It's because I believe in what you're doing. And I know how valuable it is. Not only it has been for you, but it has been for thousands of others who have finally seen the light and know how important it is. So it is your instruction manual. So let's dive into that a little bit more. What makes SNiP unique within the genetics or I wanted to say nutrigenomics because that's going to tell everybody the uniqueness, but go ahead. What makes you unique? Healthy circulation is foundational to overall wellness, and nitric oxide plays a critical role in how the body delivers oxygen and nutrients where they're needed most. N101 focuses on supporting nitric oxide production as a pathway to better cardiovascular health, energy, and performance. This is an area of health that often gets overlooked, yet it impacts everything from brain function to endurance and recovery. N101's work brings important attention to a system that truly affects whole body vitality. You can learn more about N101 and Dr. Nathan Bryan and their approach by visiting the link in the show notes or by using the code AGELESS10 for 10% off of all their products.
So what makes SNiP so unique is I'm not flooding you with just a ton of reports.
Right.
At this time, we aren't doing polygenic risk scores. I'm not comparing you to the entire population. Okay. That's not what I do.
Right.
I'm literally looking at heavy hitting genes that impact us in aging that are actionable. And the biggest difference from what is out there is I take that information and I custom compound into one foundational formula. I can make well over 3 billion formulas, and I make only one just for you based on your results to the microgram, a clinical dose of plant-based nutrition. So whole foods, vitamins, minerals, micronutrients, but with the right cofactors, in the right dosage, in the right format, and I put it into one. It's not and so we'll stop right there and we'll say, it's not intended to be the end all be all, but it is my daily one thing that I won't miss. I go to is my code complex, my customized formula that's going to support me on the heart markers, the immune resilience, my vitamin D receptors, my detox pathways, etc. That is my go-to. And of the one thing that I stick with and stay on, and it is the product that truly, it made a huge shift in my own health and wellness. So that's the differentiator. We actually, and I'll show it to you.
And I love it because it has your name right. Yeah, it has your name right on. It feels really special when you go to take your code complex, and you say, "Oh, this is all for me," and it's customized to who I am. Nobody has no other company has that, right?
That's
good. That I know, at least that I know of. Yeah. So what when you say the customized supplements, but then people don't change the other lifestyle aspects. So how do you deal with that? Because the supplement's not going to do it all on its own if people are resistant to nutrition or stress or sleep or exercise or all, the pillars of health. So how do you deal with that when you're dealing with individual clients?
Well, truly, I would have to say that if you are that person that is wanting that change, you're struggling. I think that so many people suddenly, like, that was me. I was like, wait, I've hit 40 and suddenly I don't feel well. This is not, and I kept putting that mask on like I was feeling great. And inside it felt like I was dying. Okay, so ultimately, I was doing everything else correctly. I was eating really clean. I was exercising, etc. So it wasn't that my body was broken. I just was given it the wrong inputs. But reality is, if somebody is taking supplements and they are trying, what I have seen over and over and over, just like me, when I applied the nutrigenomic approach in my life, my sleep was better. My energy was better. Well, what happens when your energy is better? Well, I naturally I worked out more, or I made sure I moved my body more. So they all go hand in hand. We just need, as the collective of all of us. We need to be aware of our bodies. We need to, not only that, but we need to understand it's not just one thing. And how do we, it's not perfection. It is not perfection. It's consistency and precision of continually to do things. So we have seen is when somebody has had, maybe they've just really struggled with chronic bloat, gut issues, etc. Well, when they apply the nutrigenomic approach and maybe they start having better responses, maybe they make different food choices too, or educating them. There are genes that tell us about your propensity to have problems with caffeine, gluten, and dairy. I can't formulate on those specifically, but I can say, hey, you're noticing inflammation after dairy, maybe. So I can guide people to make those better choices. I can't make them make
You
better
can't
choices.
force them, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, it seems like today consumers are overwhelmed with information and misinformation, by the way, because they go on, the internet, which is full of all these people trying to sell you something, but not always having the scientific. How do you help people to separate the science from the hype?
Oh, well, first and foremost, we start with your own biology. Everything that we do is rooted in science. I think it's probably 4 decades worth of science based on nutrigenomics, understanding. So there's a gene, it's called the APOB. It's the main protein component of LDL cholesterol. The integrity of the cell wall and repairs and communicates. I mean, and we look at that and I can see if you've got markers on that, exactly what plant-based nutrition to give you. And I back it all up with peer-reviewed science of why we use artichoke extract, green tea extract, whatever the nutrients are. They're all science. They've got studies. They're peer-reviewed studies of these nutrients supporting this gene where you've got what we call variants or mutations, right? With glitches, whatever you want to call them, to optimize and function at a higher level.
Well, how many genes do you cover in the test?
We test 103 actionable genes. We custom compound on 22. We impact genes outside of that, outside of the 22 for sure. But our science lies in the 22 key actionable genes that we formulate on.
So let's dive into those genes. Let's talk about those, because I think everybody reads about the APO, the Alzheimer's allele, and the COMT, and things that are a little more because they want to know about their stress levels, their dopamine. But I'm saying that, but not. I mean, you and I know that. Of course, you know it backwards and forwards. But people who are not in the world of epigenetics or nutrigenomics don't always know what these, and it's kind of daunting, really, when you get the test and you see all these genes and you say, I don't understand what they are. So give us a little tutorial on the top ones, the ones that you think people really need to know before they dive in and get their test and get their results, so they'll be prepared.
Well, I think one of the key ones, the master switch of your DNA, is your MTHFR. Yeah. Everybody's talking about the MTHFR. Right. However, to really get the full benefit of addressing if you've got genetic variants in this, and we'll talk about what that is, but you really need to address inflammation, oxidative stress. You can't just go after methylation. So let's talk about MTHFR. Literally tells us that, hey, you cannot take folic acid and convert it to the bioactive format in your body. Okay. Right. We have store-bought breads, breakfast cereals. Everything is fortified with folic acid.
Right.
So let's think about this. You have a beautiful $1 million Ferrari sitting in your driveway, right?
Yeah.
And it needs premium unleaded gasoline. And we put diesel fuel into it.
Right.
What does it do? It mucks up the engine. So when we can't take and convert, that's exactly what's happening in our bodies. The NIH says that about 40% of the population has markers on 1 or 2 of the MTHFR genes. I disagree. I'm going on a limb here. I'm going to tell you somewhere between 8 and 10,000 DNA report reviews. And I will tell you, unless it's only people coming to us with wanting to get healthier, that's upwards of closer to 80% of the population.
Right, that's what I've been told. I mean, you're not the first one. But why do they so understate it, and the so-called experts? I mean, there's no real reason to misinform the public, because it's such an important, vital part of our health is our methylation pathway.
I think it's maybe just based on science, subsets of people that they tested, et cetera. I believe that it will continue. Science continues to evolve. It just does. It continues to evolve. So, but understanding, but then once you understand that and you understand that, I mean, there is no way I could eat the amount of food that we have to supplement, but it's not just that folate in that bioactive format. There are other cofactors like choline and TMG that need to be added. And that's where it becomes this mass confusion when you do test with somebody. Because there's amazing, as you said, there's other great DNA testing companies out there, but then they give you all these recommendations. We just take the recommendation and we turn it into the solution. So I think that's a really important one, but understanding your detox pathways. You know, we detox when we eat, and from metabolic processes of food breaking down, we create waste. Is your body recycling it, or are you excreting it? So we look at detox pathways and oxidative stress, etc. So they're all, in my opinion, they're all important. But vitamin D receptors are important too. And we test and formulate on 4 vitamin D receptors. Let's talk about vitamin D for a minute.
Yeah, that's so important because so many people are deficient in vitamin D3.
Yeah. So if we think about this, vitamin D impacts over 6,000 biochemical pathways in our body.
Wow.
It impacts methylation. So you see, they all start working together. Your genes don't work alone. They work in a beautiful symphony. Just like you don't just listen to the violinist, you listen to the entire orchestra, right? And they all work together. That's what our genes do. So let's go back to the vitamin D receptor though. Low vitamin D levels are related to all-cause mortality. Okay. So ultimately, we look at 4 vitamin D receptors, understanding, we believe, like you said, many people are deficient, but are you that person that cannot, like I am that person, I could be out in the sun, and even though that's, hey, great and dandy, and I'm out in the sun, I don't take from the sun and convert very well in my body. That's one of the genes. And then another one's how it releases into the liver and kidneys and how it releases into the body. So I have to supplement, and I have to take a higher dose of vitamin D to keep my levels in an optimal range.
Right. So what's that test, that gene result called, the vitamin D receptor gene?
It's the VDR. It's the vitamin D receptor.
Okay. And then, so the other one, I know you said, so we know the MTHFR is methylation. And what's the name of the gene for detox?
Oh, there's several genes, because again, genes don't just have one role. MTHFR plays a role in detox, but then we also have the EPHX1, that's phase 1 detoxification. We have GSTP1, your master glutathione gene, oxidative stress. That's phase 2 detoxification. Multiple genes play multiple roles in different body systems. And so that's ultimately the way that we produce it. It is written in a 6th grade reading language, just so you know. It is. Is it a lot of information? It is. But as my husband says, I don't care about the science. I just want to know my strengths and weaknesses, and I want to know this made for me, right? Great. We're there for him. The person that wants to dive deep, the code report that is generated, code stands for custom optimization of DNA expression. Where you've got these variants, we want to come in and support them, because we believe that if you start at the genetic level, you'll have healthier cells, healthier tissues, healthier organs, and an overall healthier you, right? So what we do in that code report is we line out what your markers are. We tell you gene by gene the actual nutrients that are going to be put into your own custom formula. But we also tell you how each of those genes plays a role in each body system. And over and over, we'll see somebody they'll say, hey, I started on my code complex. I'm really struggling, Great. I mean, because they're really invested in their health, and they're trying to get to where they want to go. And so I'll tell them to take a look back at their code report. Where do you have a lot of genetic variants? What's popping up? Because we line it out, and somebody will come back to me, oh, I've got a lot of detox markers. Great. Let's go to the detox report and let's look at how each of these genes, because we give you their broad function, now we tell you the role of what it does in each of the body systems. Here's how this gene plays a role in detox. So then you can go through it more lifestyle tips, right? And then suggested labs. I'm not going to be somebody's provider. I'm not in their shoes. I don't have their daily diet, their exercise routine, etc.
Right.
But I want to guide them to get to the root cause of what's causing the issue faster, easier, and be able to say, you're really struggling still with detox. Consider requesting these labs from your provider. Is it mold? Is it heavy metals? Is it glyphosates? So that you can understand what other thing you may do, because SNiP and Code Complex are not the end all be all.
Right.
We are one key component in
Right.
that whole health and wellness. We're just simple.
Right, which is why I asked you earlier if somebody were going to take the Code Complex, but they didn't change their other lifestyle habits that are contributing to their feeling badly, feeling unhealthy, then it isn't going to, it'll make, some difference, but it won't make the monolithic difference that we're all looking for. So, okay, so is there one place that somebody can go if they want to look at the major genes by name and what they do? Is there a resource that, or do you offer that in your? Okay, tell us about that.
Anybody can go to snipnutrition.com.
Okay.
You can download a sample report.
Okay.
There's sample reports, and that contain the key genes that we custom formulate on.
Right.
And you can see what it looks like, and what a formula looks like. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
So,
go ahead.
so that's right there on your website. So what's your website?
It's SNiP SNiP
Yeah.
Nutrition,
Yeah.
because nutrigenomics is too hard to spell. So
Right.
snipnutrition.com.
Okay. Well, that's so easy. And so then when you get on the site, you go to sample.
Scroll to the bottom and click on sample DNA report, and you could get a sample DNA report.
Okay. And then it lists the genes that you're, the 22 or so genes that you're testing.
Well, we test 103.
Well, I mean, the ones that you said
We're formulating on. Correct.
Yeah, the top, I realize that the top of the pyramid ones that people, because, I just in my own personal experience with you and my test, one of the things that came out both in your test and the DNA company test, I did both of them, is that I had the obesity gene. Well, I've been a size 6 or even smaller sometimes, since I was in my teens. Now, yes, if I didn't have this lifestyle disciplines, I probably would be fat. I don't think I'd be obese but I also have a mindset. Now, this is another thing that I think people don't realize, that your mental attitude, the way you approach life and your disciplines, they have a real impact. So somewhere along the line, God gave me a protective mechanism. If I have that gene, He told me how to be discerning and how to feel that I don't feel good if I have a few extra pounds. So don't ever let yourself go there. So how do you explain all that? That's far more qualitative than quantitative.
Absolutely. So the obesity genes, the FTO genes that you're talking about.
Yes.
So remember, these are all actionable. Okay. So let's think about this. So when we're first born, when we come out of our mother's wombs, we don't come out with chronic aches and pains, anxiety,
Right.
depression, etc. But
Right.
we've inherited these variants. And these are these actionable genes that, let's just say somebody's in a car accident and that was a trauma on their body, or the loss of a family member, of a dog, etc. Stress, things can activate these genes to turn on and turn off. For you, as you said, you've been very discerning about that. That FTO gene doesn't mean you're going to be obese.
Right.
What it means, we know if you have markers on that gene,
Right.
and if it is not functioning optimally, you will tend to eat 25% more calories before you feel satiated.
Right.
You will crave more salty, sugary, fatty foods if it's not optimal. And we just know the very specific nutrients that we can apply in the customized formula when you have that, to help with that satiety responsiveness. And things like berberine. They call it the natural Ozempic, but we can apply that and alpha lipoic acid to help keep that just optimized. So, and I don't know, Michele, I mean, if you've ever gone through a stressful time or something and you just felt like you did want to overeat, or whatever. And even though that's not your lifestyle day in and day out, but you've got that variant, and that's what nutrigenomics comes in to help optimize at that source level, so that it makes it easier for you as well.
I think there's a point though, Kim, where psychology comes into play, that we have these other mental processes, like when you just said that I would tend to overeat. Well, I would go the other way, because mentally, I know I don't feel good if I'm, eating too much. It doesn't make me feel optimum. And if I'm already under stress, why would I do something that's going to harm me even more? So I go the opposite way. I would eat less because I know that the stress is going to raise my cortisol, raise my opportunity to gain weight, right, because my cortisol is so high. So you see, I think we have to, somehow there's like the psycho side of all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, I think our mindset, mental, like, and literally like that nervous system in general is so key in all of this. Again, that is why I think there is so much noise out there, right?
Yeah.
There are so many things to look at. It is, and if you do look at blue zones, or you look why people live long, I mean, it is movement. It is fresh air, good quality air. It's clean water. It's community and that nervous system. And we need to eat. We just know the reason so many people supplement is because food in general today is depleted of so much nutrition. I mean, for me to get the amount of folate just from that MTHFR that I would need, I need 13 cups of spinach a day.
Right.
I can't do that.
Ridiculous. Right. It's ridiculous.
Right. And then, I mean, for other vitamins, like the amount of B12 that I need for, like, let's say the MTRR gene, which is part of that methylation pathway that has to do with homocysteine healthy heart, keeping that homocysteine level, I need 39 servings of beef liver. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Right.
So that's why people supplement. It's just, I think that we've been throwing darts. We have been, it's this classical thing. I've got a headache, take an Advil or Tylenol, and it gets rid of it. No, let's go to the source of you. Let's start there and understand why your body does what it does, what it needs to function optimally. And then, and see, because the body was meant, I do believe the body was meant to heal itself. We just need we need the right inputs.
People like you and me, though, we're actually have angels surrounding us. So we're very, very lucky, because we have a natural instinct, curiosity to want to know why. Why do I feel badly? And then if there are stressors that we recognize, instead of caving and capitulating to the stress, we say, okay, we got to figure out how to get the solution to this. So we are curious to start with, and we're solution driven, and we're not victims. So we say to ourselves, I have to find a way out of this. So in order to do that, we are going to find things, that we're going to do things in our actions that are going to be protected. So I always think there are angels on my shoulder that, why is it during those dark moments that I find light? And that is really to do a lot with our attitude, what gifts we were given for survival. And there are many, many people who just cave under the stress and go the other way, whether it's recreational drugs or alcohol or, some substance abuse that changes it. So I guess, we just have to wake up every morning and say, thank you, God, and, have gratitude for the fact that we want to know more. And this is what I try to inspire all my anyone who will listen. I try to inspire them with that, that is a basic paradigm shift in our lifestyle, in our attitudes about life, and how we want to live each day. Because, we realize as we get older that that life is short. I mean, it truly is. Sometimes I look around and I say, oh my God, 25 years have gone by, and it just seemed like, it was nothing. So how quickly, time passes when you are, enjoying or finding meaning. That's the other thing that, those blue zones and all the pillars of health that people often forget about adding is, your sense of community and connection and the love that you have in your life. Those are very, very important too, no matter what your genetics are. That if you can fight them with your lifestyle. That's where, why the blueprint doesn't have to be a life sentence. And so if Chris Hemsworth was sitting in front of you, you know who he is, right? What happened? He got the bad news about having the APO for the Alzheimer's gene, and then he just kind of went crazy, gave up everything in his career in order to be with his family, because he kind of looked at it like, well, he was just going to get, it was inevitable, he was going to get Alzheimer's. So how would you lead him? How would you instruct him if he were sitting here in front of you?
That's a great question. How would I instruct him? I think the biggest thing that you just talked about, and this is funny that when you said that, because this is what I was going to say next, is I'm sorry, but I'm going to live today the best that I can. Mm-hmm. And we were put here to be of service.
Exactly. To make a difference.
To make a difference. And ultimately, it like you said, it's not a death sentence. What it is, hey, now understand your own body. But personally, we don't test the APOE. I'm just going to let you know. We aren't going after the disease. But what it is I would say, do the things that you know that can help optimize you the best that you can. Because Alzheimer's, basically, what do they call it? Or dementia, it looks like, do they call it type 3 diabetes? I mean, The brain looks the same. So if we can sit there and support all the other systems to be as optimal as possible, and you can apply the other lifestyle edits and changes with the fresh water, the clean air, etc., to help support you. I mean, how amazing is that? And we can go to heart disease. It's the #1 killer still. Right? They say coronary artery disease is 50% genetic and 50% lifestyle. Well, if you've got these genes and you can you can support them, they say that if you do make those edits and changes, you can get up to 20 more years of healthy living. What is healthy living? Healthy living is doing what you want to do, not being being stuck in one place and not moving our bodies, not being filled with joy. We were intended to be filled with joy.
Right. Yeah, I was telling a friend about, who's going through some stress, and I said, just when you wake up in the morning, have a journal, and just write down 3 things every day, just 3 things that you're grateful for, or just say, count my blessings, not my troubles. That could be the title. And then once writing it down makes it a little more real than just thinking. Although thinking is better than not thinking about it, but find those things in life that are giving you nourishment and not depleting you, and then surround yourself with people who feed that nourishment side, because you can get involved in relationships and situations where your energies are being distracted by negativity. So I think that this is, again, where the psychological side comes in, and it's something that is more subtle and not as measurable, although the dopamine, the COMT gene, does tell you about how well you are able to use the neurotransmitters, right? And isn't there also a serotonin, another gene that measures your ability to generate good feelings, or is that the same, the COMT?
Well, the COMT tells us how we break down those stress hormones and all of that. And I'm sure there's many more genes, but yes. Yeah. But you've said it and you've said it over and over, and I agree with you 100%. Mindset is so, so, so important. And I see so many times people identify as the condition they have.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
Right.
I've got anxiety, or I've got anxiety and I'm anxious. Okay, so how can we support that? And don't identify as. You can't identify as the condition. Identify as yourself, and identify as yourself living healthy. That is so very powerful.
Yeah, it's like the warrior versus the warrior. Always opt for being a warrior, and you finding that that resilience that helps you to battle anything, because we're all going to have challenges in life. It's just part of the journey. Yeah. So what do you do about people who have issues on privacy?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So remember, I told you we aren't doing polygenic risk scores. So polygenic risk scores literally are comparing you to a population, right?
Okay.
We are completely HIPAA compliant. Your physical DNA gets destroyed. The only reason I need it is so that I can see your results on these genes that are going to tell me your formula. You get a password protected portal that only you can get in, and it has your results in it. We don't collect, sell, or share your data. So I understand that there's been so much about that, but in reality, also, if you think about it, if they want your DNA, they can get it so many different ways. And
right.
I would like to think that that hasn't happened, but but also when, like, if there was a trial that you submitted to be involved in, you are allowing, this is how science does progress, is for you to share your information. We go through, annually, we go through a complete audit of genes and of how we're formulating. And is there new science? Has anything changed? Is it changing how we're formulating? At one point in time, there could be a protective allele that new research now shows it's an at-risk allele. In other words, one that you used to be, like, it didn't show that you were going to be more prone to inflammation. Now, new research might say, hey, actually, this is flipped. I mean, science continues to progress, and that is the beautiful thing about it. So I know we got off of a little bit of
that's do you believe there is a future where everyone will find that they wouldn't even begin to go on a healthcare journey without doing their testing? Do you believe that could that be our future?
I believe that at the time that a young child is born, if we did their genetics and we understood right then and there, we would understand. And again, so, I say this with full heart and intention. If you knew your child's genetics when they were born, and you know that MTHF genetic variants, and there's debate about this in the world, but if there's genetic variants that may make it harder for you to detox vaccinations and things like that. So I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I believe in choice. But if you understood this, and you understood that children with markers on this could struggle more, you would do it a little different. You would spread them out. You would maybe then support the child with some additional nutrients or detox stuff after a vaccination, etc. I just believe that if we, and it's just like certain people with MTHFR variations as well, they really struggle. They can struggle with certain anesthesia. You just know, you prep yourself better with everything you're doing for life. Again, it's your own owner's manual, just like you get when you buy a $20 blender.
So instead of giving them 32 vaccines, not that I'm not saying I'm an anti-vaxxer, but I don't believe I think we're over-vaccinate. But instead of doing all that, maybe, start the first step before leaving the hospital is to get the genetics, the DNA test. Yeah. I mean, that seems so far-fetched today to think that our allopathic Western medicine would mandate that would be a part of being born. Is that now that people are storing their stem cells, that never used to happen, but now people understand that if you will freeze your stem cells of the child, of the infant, then that child, when they get older, they have their own stem cells to be able to access if they have some kind of a need. So that's another example. So, okay, so I asked you about Chris Hemsworth, but let's just talk more generically about general population, okay? Mm-hmm. And so somebody comes to you and they say, okay, I want to optimize my genetics. Mm-hmm. And what are the 3 things you would tell them to pay attention to?
Well, one, I would tell them they need to swab, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they need to swab.
Okay, so swab means get your test.
Yeah, get your DNA test. And do a cheek swab. And then review your results. And look at that. And I will tell you, every time you look at the results, when you look at them, again, it can seem overwhelming, but start slow. We've done so much education around and in layman's terms, but and then apply the approaches. There's tons of different lifestyle tips. It depends. What is it? Where are your biggest weaknesses, and where are the things that you struggle with? And then apply those things in their life. So again, it can be different for everybody, but I'm about simplicity. I am about simplicity. We all only have 24 hours in the day. We all only have a certain budget to do what we need to do. And so small steps yield big outcomes. It's a book I just wrote.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, that's a great
it's going to be basically an ebook. It'll come out when I launch my own podcast, but it's about small steps. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency of small steps yielding big changes and shifts in your own health and wellness.
Okay, so that's 2. What's 3? I'm not letting you off the hook.
That's okay. The third one, be in your body. Listen to yourself.
Listen to your body.
Listen to yourself. Your body is an amazing, amazing machine.
Right.
And if you can sit and listen to it instead of sit there and tell yourself, oh, I've got this and just be in your body. Let that mind, like you talked about, the positive mindset, etc. Be in your body and listen to it.
Mm-hmm. So is there one gene that you pay particular attention to more than others in terms of just your awareness of being deeply steeped in the world of DNA?
Ooh, remember, they all start working together. But something that's really near and dear, if you're asking me personally, is the heart markers. A lot of heart markers, and methylation highly plays a role with heart health. But yes, I'm that girl that, the first time I looked at my genetics, I was like, oh my gosh, all these heart markers, but it falls in alignment. My grandmother passed away from congestive heart failure. My grandfather, coronary artery disease. Now I just know, and remember, I already gave you a few statistics. So now I know what to do, and I know what to pay attention to. I know the questions to ask. I track my own blood work. I do those things, and not obsessively, because I'm sorry, again, I have 24 hours just like you do.
Yeah.
I'm aware of myself. I listen to my body, and I moderately track what's going on. I will do some interesting different tests. I've tested all kinds of things as I've gone through it. But I think that's what I feel is important. So
right. Well, and you take obviously that's both personal, but it's also projecting onto the population. If heart disease is still the number one killer, then obviously one of the genes that you want to look at is those 4 or 5 that you mentioned.
Oh, there's multiple that impact heart health. So yeah.
Heart health.
Yeah. So if we can just support at that genetic foundational level, and optimize where, again, nutrigenomics comes in, and when you've got genetic variants, it says that if you apply this nutrition, it can help optimize the function of the gene so that it almost works as though it doesn't have that variant. Just like Think about the vitamin D receptor. I've got all of those too. I've got them all. And if I apply the vitamin D into my customized formula, like we do, I can keep my vitamin D levels at an optimal level. And I can track that with common and standard blood work, of measuring that. There's so many ways you can track it, but I mean, it's your immune. It impacts bone health. It impacts so many things. So,
So in your experience in dealing with so many clients, how do you feel about people's treating the symptoms rather than the root cause, which is really what Western medicine unfortunately plagues us with, is, giving us a pill to fix a symptom that then causes more symptoms that causes another pill. So how do you, it's got to be something that enters your life in a very meaningful way when you're dealing with clients. So how do you deal with that?
How do I deal with it? Well,
I mean, within your framework of interacting with,
right. Well, I have to go back to me, because it was 11 years of, I went Ayurveda, I went vegan, I did all these cleanses, I was doing all this, right? I was Western, Eastern, natural, etc. Towards the end, at one point in time, I was on between, again, the symptom was adrenal fatigue, right? Oh, you have extreme adrenal fatigue. I was buying $300 to $400 a month in adrenal. I was going after one thing, right? I was doing it naturally. I mean, with, supplementation.
Right. At least you had that part cornered, but not everybody does that.
Right. But I was also doing PEMF 5 days a week. I don't know who can keep that up either, right?
Right.
But even that person wasn't going to understand the root of me. We were just applying. It's throwing darts. And that's why I'm so passionate about people understanding and starting with your own genetics. And then the powerful hitting ones that really impact us in aging. We can make this simple. We can make this easy to apply in a lifestyle. So when somebody else is dealing, I love to make them think differently. I love to have the conversation. Have you thought about this? Have you done your genetics, one, but two, have you thought about applying XYZ, or have you thought about, it's not this, it's like that standard thing. And January comes and everybody wants to go on a diet, and they make this so extreme that they stick with it for how many days and they fall off of it, right?
Yeah.
That's not what I'm about. So in December, I decided I was doing some major shifts for myself. I took alcohol out of my diet. I love cheese. Remember, food brings us joy, right? Yeah. I'm not going to not eat cheese, but cheese was a part of my daily lifestyle. Right. And again, dairy can cause inflammation. I have markers. I know this. So I removed cheese from my daily lifestyle, from my daily diet. But not always. Now, if we were in a situation, or if I was out to dinner and something was going to contain cheese, I didn't not eat it. I wasn't going to those 3 slices of, whatever kind of cheese and crackers like for a snack. So I did that. Then the next commitment was, you haven't been moving your body enough. You have got to commit to moving your body more. So I started moving my body more. I started wearing an Oura ring. I started tracking things, not to be obsessive about it, but just to pay attention to where I was and how I was feeling, and what made be present with my body. What's making that big shift and edit and change, and how is it making me feel? Again, it was not everything at once. It was, I first took the alcohol out. I wanted to, we're in social situations all the time. And I was just like, I want to see, how do I feel? Do I feel the pressure that am I missing to have a glass of wine, whatever? I did that for a little over 3 months. Now I will drink occasionally on, a social situation. It's not that but I just wanted to make some small edits and changes. And so, you know what? After removing it, so about week 2 or 3 is when I go, okay, now it's time to do the next thing, because I'm feeling really good about this. That's when I removed the cheese. you know what I started to notice when I made those little shifts and edits, it becomes habit. Little shifts and edits become habit. And instead of going for that cheese, I choose healthier options now.
Right.
Oh, I grab an apple, grab a banana. Oh, a different protein, some hummus, whatever. When we make little shifts and edits, everything starts to become habit. That's lifestyle.
Unfortunately, people as they get older have the hardest time to make change. You're just an exception because you're so motivated. And again, what I said before, the angels are surrounding you, and also educated enough to know what steps to take. A lot of people are just brainwashed by modern medicine, Western medicine. And so they think if I take a pill, that's going to make the same changes that you just described. But that's not true, because you're putting chemicals in your body that are making it even more toxic and more difficult to detox or methylate. So, so again, wake up tomorrow morning, like I said, and just thank God for all the blessings that you have in knowing the steps to take. I mean, it isn't just a magic formula either. It's not like, okay, I'm going to stop eating cheese and tomorrow I'm going to feel like Superwoman. Right. It doesn't happen that way. It's like you said, little baby steps.
That's the thing. I do believe, though. I mean, anybody can say, look, I'm overeating. I'm not going to starve myself. I'm going to eat. I'm still going to eat. But instead of 3 servings of gravy on something, instead of the fried chicken, you know what? Let's try grilled chicken a few times.
Yeah.
And again, it's little. I do not believe in crazy drastic steps. I believe in these small little edits.
Baby steps.
And that person that says, oh my gosh, I haven't been to the gym in years. Great. You don't have to go to the gym. What if you just said to yourself, there's so many great things online right now, even without weights or anything of movement. And I'm just going to add one movement for 10 minutes. Whatever it may be, or I'm going to take a quick 10-minute walk.
Right. I was just going to say that. Get out in nature, because that's also very good for stress levels.
Absolutely.
And it only has to be a short little stint, but if you do it consistently, your body's building up that muscle memory. So,
but then you start craving it. You start craving it too. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel great when I get outside and walk for 10 minutes in the morning. I take my shoes off. I ground myself in earth and in nature. The sun's on my face, and then it becomes habit. And then you go, instead of a 10-minute walk, I went for a 20 or a 30-minute walk. Whatever. Again, we need joy in our lives, and small little steps and consistent small little steps, not asking for that drastic radical change, can really yield those.
Yeah. Well, remember, we are the sum total of all the choices that we make. But in order to make good choices, we need to have a baseline, a foundation of knowledge. And so this is where I think people get sidetracked, is because the knowledge they get from TV. Let's just say, I watch a basketball game and the NBA, and every single commercial is either processed food or pharmaceutical drugs. Well, if this is what people are experiencing in their life, because they're feeding their free time with what they enjoy, like watching basketball, but they're getting all this other, collateral damage because of all these ads. So actually, one of my biggest dreams and hopes is that they ban pharmaceutical ads from TV.
I don't think they're allowed in other countries.
No, I was just going to say, we the United States, and I think it's New Zealand, there's only 2 countries that allow. I mean, why are we so far behind? And well, of course, I know why. I'm answering. It's a rhetorical question. But, however, if you just can learn from what others' experiences are and recognize them, maybe we have a little hope now with Robert F. Kennedy, but he can only do so much, and even he gets flack in every step of the way.
Right.
You know, so,
Yeah.
well, they just signaled me that we're out of time, but I did want to ask you, I know you've been so kind and generous to offer our viewers a little, just an incentive to get to know you better and to do what we've been advocating today, which is to get your darn genetics tests done.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us what that is that you want to offer?
Absolutely. If you go to snipnutrition.com, just like Michele said, there you can download a sample DNA report. You can peruse the website. What does it look like? There's no hooks, catches, anything like that. Whether it's a DNA test, a starter plan that includes the first month of your customized, or the optimal plan that is the DNA test plus your customized and then ongoing on subscription. Again, we don't wrap people in. We are very flexible on all of those things, but $50 off coupon for any of those, either whether it's the DNA test or either of the packages. And the coupon is Ageless. Just for you, Michele, Ageless. So AGELESS for listening to, for Michelle's audience, listening in.
Thank you so much. It's so generous of you, Kim. So if you wanted to convey one final kernel or gem of knowledge that you want people to know and that has made a difference, what would that be? What would your words of wisdom be to all of us?
Understanding your own biology can change everything. And I just don't believe in identifying as the disease. I believe identifying as you, beautiful human. You were given the opportunity and this amazing, amazing body, and give yourself grace. As you go through anything, give yourself grace and be full of gratitude. Truly. I mean, I know that's a lot in one, Michele. That's like a loaded question for me.
No, but but it's perfect because it's exactly what we've been talking about today. And it really does go back to attitude, to, you know, your desire to make a change. It's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to take action and then to have some positive results. Like what your life and your story is, by the way, it's very similar to 90% of the people that are, you know, doing great things in the world today, but they've all started, including myself, including you. You know, we've all started with some adversity, and out of the adversity, we found an opportunity. But, you know, we may have been on the path anyway. The adversity just expedited everything and made it easier to understand the importance of taking action.
Right.
So, so I would agree with you. Well, okay, so one last question, and then we're going to go.
Okay.
You are one of the most prolific speakers, and, you know, I've seen you you're in demand, let's say. If all the speeches that you've given, has there been anyone where there's been a moment where you've been stuck? Like you were stymied, you didn't know how to answer the question that was asked by someone in the audience, or you had a moment where you felt like you weren't doing what you wanted to do in that speech. Has that ever happened to you?
Wow, that's a great question, Michele. I think the thing is when we go to genetics, a lot of people want me to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, and they will start asking me random questions about something very, very specific. I'm not in their body.
About themselves. Too,
about themselves. And I can educate on your genetics, but I don't know your lifestyle. I don't know what you're eating daily.
And you're not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor. Yeah. I'm not a doctor. And
you don't want to get into that trap.
Well, no, and I'm not going to diagnose. What I love to tell people is let's think about this differently, because in reality, and now I hope this makes you laugh, you do not walk into the pharmacist and say, hey, pharmacist, what's vitamin C going to make me feel like? What's it going to do? Am I going to have a reaction? Okay, you don't do that, right? But everybody, when we go to a genetic level and we provide them with all the science, they want to take it. It is because it is personal, and I understand it. But we have to think about this differently. We have to understand strengths, weaknesses, and then look at it all, partner it up with our symptoms, our blood work, everything. That's the problem. I don't think we look at, I compare my blood work to how I feel, How am I sleeping? How am I waking up in the morning? And do I feel charged and ready to go, or am I dragging?
Right.
Those are be in your body. So
Right.
I will tell you, on stage once, somebody went to a very specific medical condition. And I'm like, even a doctor couldn't have answered the question. So
Right.
other than that, no, I'm very passionate. I'm very comfortable. Am I perfect? Do I know it all? Absolutely not.
Right.
Am I passionate about really helping people get to this? Is my science validated? Yes. And I really feel I was gifted this technology to be able to be the conduit to educate people on this, and that you listening, this is for you. That's why, and I just got chills. I am doing this for people to educate them. I didn't need to do this. And do I hit roadblocks and people, and not understanding, etc. The cost of my customized, which you're going to start to hear me get a little bit louder about. I can pull 2 ingredients out of my customized and show you online where you would pay $120 for those two things. I custom compound for somebody for $159. Michelle, why? I want the masses to be able to afford this technology. It's not about the money. I want the masses to be able to afford it. And that's the other thing. There's not this, I have taken my formula to a compounding pharmacy and I said, can you make this for me? Do you want to hear the lowest price I got?
I can imagine. Go ahead.
$650.
Yeah.
And sorry, Kim, we don't have agreements with some of these trademarked ingredients, so we can't even get them all. So my goal is, again, it is about foundational wellness and to educate people to empower generations to come.
Mm-hmm. This is so inspiring, because, part of my passion for developing a podcast 8 years ago was exactly the same mission, the same vision. Is I could see so many people who were lost and they just didn't have answers and they were sad and it got to me, because I knew I had somehow naturally had been gifted with these ability to go search for answers that served me and didn't distract me, if you know what I'm saying, or hurt me. And so, because I had that gift, I said, I've got to share this. So I totally appreciate it. I think you and I have been on a, similar journey, different paths to get there, but the same mission, the same vision is to help others. So,
absolutely.
All right. Well, Kim, don't forget to stay on a little bit until we get the signal. Okay. But thank you again. And I'll see you in December, I guess, at A4M. Unless you're going to be somewhere else. I don't think I'm going to be. I just went to 4 conferences in the last month, so I think I'm conferenced out. But where are you going next?
I'm headed to Las Vegas tomorrow for an event with some other founders, and then
Dave Asprey, isn't he coming up?
Yeah, we won't be attending that. My baby, my youngest daughter is graduating from high school. So we start baccalaureate and all the graduation things. But right after that, the end of June, I'll be in New York at Biohackers World.
Oh yeah, that's the one that I'm going to miss. I've gone to the first 2, the one in Chicago and the one in LA, but I don't think I'm going to. Maybe Mick will convince me to come because they're very, persuasive. But all right, well, good. All right, you have a wonderful weekend, and thank you again for sharing all your knowledge and wisdom with us today.